What does it mean to dream of wolves? Despite appearances, there's actually a lot that separates dogs from wolves. If you truly want to get at the heart of the question, what does it mean to dream of wolves, you need to focus on this distinction. It's really all about the disconnect between the familiar and the wild and unknown. The wolf represents your primal instincts or the untamed, wild aspect of your personality. You may have an unpredictable streak to you that only shows up from time to time, maybe when you're under stress or you're feeling overwhelmed in an area of your life. You know that you have entered that kind of mental and emotional state because you're dealing with unprocessed emotions. It's as if something's bubbling underneath the surface, and before you're aware of it, you have these emotional explosions. This is the time when you set loose and you are really caught off guard by unexpected circumstances. This does not necessarily have to be a negative thing, but what throws you off is the lack of control. You feel another way to interpret the wolf in your dreams is that you feel threatened or confronted by a challenge or conflict in your waking life. You might have just come from a huge disagreement with someone who is very close to you, or there might be a barrier in your life right now that you feel is keeping you from making progress. Maybe it's a job or a promotion that you're after, and for whatever reason, you're not making progress towards it. Another dimension to wolves is that they often stay together. They move in packs. And given this reality, that symbol in your dreams can portray or depict a sense of loyalty or close knit relationships with others. It may speak to your need for strong social connections. Everybody, deep down inside, needs to feel that they belong. But this is either threatened or set into motion because you feel that, and at least in some area of your life, you're in a new or unfamiliar place where you feel alone, disconnected, or not fully understood. Finally, the wolf may represent your need for more independence as well as emotional self reliance. You may be at the stage in your life where you are experiencing freedom from something or someone that has been in control of an aspect of your life for a long time. You don't quite know how to handle it. And your subconscious is telling you that you have what it takes to stand on your own 2 feet. It may well turn out that you don't need that other person's validation and you can do quite well on your own. What does it mean to dream of a lone wolf? The lone wolf may symbolize your desire for independence and solitude or a feeling that you are separate from others. This is not necessarily a bad thing. Not fitting in doesn't have to feel bad. You just know your boundaries, you just know who you are. You know what you like, you know where you could go or where you would prefer to go, and you know what you prefer in terms of people, and this is perfectly fine. Think of Wednesday Adams, for example, to use a fairly recent pop culture reference. She doesn't make any apologies for who she is. She likes what she likes. She dresses the way she dresses, and she doesn't try to proactively harm other people. She just has her own distinct look and distinct personality. She sets her own boundaries. But when you step over her boundaries or you disrespect her, what happens? She doesn't fold. This is not an act. She's not LARPing, so to speak. Instead, you get punched in the face because you violated her space. The lone wolf represents that ethic, that there is a sense of strength and even danger beneath the surface. You look the way you look for a reason, and people shouldn't disrespect that or they will get what's coming to them. You don't go out of your way to proclaim to the world as how special and different you are. Instead, you just are. And this means power. This means self acceptance and ultimately belonging. The problem is when a lot of people try to project this type of persona, but they don't really have any substance. Deep down inside, they want to conform, they want to belong, they want to fit in. In reality, we're all alone on this planet and we all are unique. And until and unless we embrace that aspect of our persona, the lone wolf, in its many different forms, will threaten us. We view it as a sign of weakness. We even think that it may be a sign that there's something wrong with us or there's something missing. That's not reality. The reality is that you are special, you are unique. And it's high time you embrace that, set healthy boundaries, develop yourself, and learn to protect yourself, both on a physical and emotional level. That's how you get respect. But if you're the type of person who goes along to get along or goes out of their way to look just like everybody else and talk like everybody else, don't be all that surprised when people refuse to see you, play all sorts of games on you, and step on you. Because deep down inside, if you're completely honest with yourself, you brought it on yourself because you're trying to play the game by their rules. Find yourself and claim that territory deep down inside, and you will have a reservoir of personal strength. That's how it works. That's the power of the lone wolf symbol in your dreams. What does it mean to dream of a baby wolf? This symbol can represent a new beginning or a fresh start. But for that fresh start to happen, for that fresh start to gain some sort of traction, you have to run the risk of going your own path. And there's nothing wrong with being different. There's nothing wrong with going against the grain as long as you base it on the right information. A lot of people who try to blaze their own trail by being this baby wolf going off in a new direction are LARPing. They're just playing a role. They want to get respect through a gimmick. That's not going to pan out. You have to mean it. It has to come from a real place of authenticity beneath you. I mean, inside you. That's how you make it work. Everything else is fake. So understand how this fresh start works and how it relates to your need to be different. The baby wolf could also represent your own inner child. There's a part of you that is innocent and vulnerable, regardless of your age and regardless of your appearance. The baby wolf appears in your dream to remind you to nurture and care for this part of your persona because you can tap into it later on to gain fresh insight. This might lead to breakthroughs. This might lead to you pursuing a path that you have all but written off. And well, it turns out that that's actually the answer. You have to understand that as you get older, your inner child gets muted. And it's really too bad because your inner child gives you a sense of anticipation. It also gives you the intellectual drive to examine things from a basic perspective and ask questions that the adult you thinks are stupid. But think about it for a second. How many times have you made bad decisions because you don't want to look bad in front of other people? You have to tap into that primal side of your personality because it contains many answers that you haven't visited in a long time. And these answers can probably help you in whatever dilemmas, paradoxes, and other impasses you may be going through right now. What does it mean to dream of a black wolf? A black wolf might symbolize a sense of danger or a feeling that you are being threatened in some way. This could be related to a specific situation in your life or more of a generalized feeling of an insecurity. It could be that you feel jealous of somebody close to you. They may be making more money or they may be living the kind of life that you wish you had. This sometimes happens in the context of social media. As you're scrolling through your timeline, it seems that your friends and your relatives are going all over the world, enjoying the very best that life has to offer. And here you are, slaving away at some anonymous cubicle somewhere, working for people that you don't really respect, doing things that you don't really like, earning money that is beneath you. So you feel jealous, not because you want what they have, but because you feel that they have freedom and you don't. The black wolf speaks to your resentment. All of us have the ability to resent. All of us have the ability to be jealous and envious, and we all have a shadow as far as our personality is concerned. The good news is, depending on the context, your black wolf doesn't have to oppress you. It doesn't have to be a repository of all these subconscious insecurities and negative emotions. Instead, it can actually lead you to your inner strength. That by harnessing your self discipline to the point that you can control, direct, and refocus your negative energies, you can make the black wolf work for you instead of against you. Let me give you an example. When I was in graduate school in California, my best friend told me that I wasn't going to get a summer job for my first year in grad school. The way that program is set up is that if you get a summer job with the right firm in your first year, your career is set. That's how it works. Because if you don't get that first summer job, the next summer job that you get is probably going to be lousy and you're not going to get anywhere. It was that crucial. So here was my friend who basically just gave up on himself because he couldn't find a summer job and he wanted to, I suppose, bless me with his negativity. He saw me at the career center printing out cover letter after cover letter and stuffing envelopes. Yeah, you remember envelopes. They were a big thing a decade or so ago. Anyway, he said, "You're wasting your time. I don't care how many envelopes you stuff, and I don't care how many cover letters you print out. All the jobs have been taken. Forget it. Let's just go surfing down Mexico today." I blew it off. But before I went back to what I was doing, I told him, "You're saying that I'm not going to get a job this summer. Watch me." When I did that, I was channeling my black wolf. That was the part of me that is motivated by other people's negativity. That's a part of me that snaps into action when other people say, "You can't do it, there's no hope, there's no use." All of us have this black wolf. This is the part of us that snaps into action and takes over our inner resources when we feel our backs are against the wall. When it's the last second of the day, when all the chips are down and all the cash has disappeared, name your metaphor, name your situation. When you find yourself in that desperate hour, that's when your black wolf roars into its full, powerful glory. And guess what? I got a job that summer. Looking back, I probably would not have been motivated if my friend wasn't so negative. I probably would have joined him on that surfing trip. Do you see how this works? Reconnect with your black wolf. It's not something to fear, and it's definitely not something to avoid or ignore. It can actually get you out of tight situations where you have a difficult time struggling with motivation or a sense of purpose and meaning. Your black wolf can bite you in the arm and drag you out. Sure, you'll be bleeding, and it probably would hurt like hell, but it may be what you need to achieve a tremendous breakthrough in an otherwise hopeless part of your life. What does it mean to dream of a wolf pack? If you find yourself being part of a wolf pack, your subconscious is trying to communicate to you that you are looking for a sense of belonging and connection. On the surface, this might seem like it's a natural thing because we're all social animals. Human beings need to connect. But the problem is when your need for connection and belonging, as well as acceptance, overrides your autonomy and ability to be authentic to yourself, you become a role player. You go along to get along, you become dependent, and this leaves you in a very emotionally weak state. If you're not careful, your identity is wrapped up into other people's validation. You feel you only have meaning because other people tell you you're important. You don't have an inner core because you have basically outsourced that to other people. What's wrong with this picture? You see how unsustainable it is? The wolf pack is made up of individual wolves. Always remember that. It is not an entity in of itself, but that's the number one lie you buy into. And before you know it, that is your identity. And it leads you to one problem after another. When you see a wolf pack in your dreams and you see it tearing apart the flesh of another animal, your subconscious is showing you through this bloody image that you are edging closer and closer to losing your identity. What does it mean to dream of wolves hunting? The coordination of individual wolves hunting can take many different forms. Pay close attention to the formation, so to speak, the wolf pack takes in your dream. If your dream shows you that there's individual wolves attacking prey from different directions over a long distance, then this shows you that there is some healthy sense of proportion, distance, and respect in how you deal with other people. But on the other hand, if you feel that you are part of this pack and you are in the center or you are in the edges, struggling to get close to the center, your subconscious is telling you that you may be paying a high price for your sense of belonging and acceptance. Don't forget who you are. Don't forget what's important to you. Don't forget your values and personal priorities. And this is not a symbolic or philosophical statement, mind you, because this impacts a lot of how you deal with day to day reality. Because if you're so absorbed by the beliefs, the ideas, the trends of the people around you, you start forgetting who you are. You start forgetting what you truly like. I can't even begin to tell you how many people say they like certain things, not because are actually interested, because that's what they think others expect from them. Is that the kind of existence that you're looking for? Or are you looking to be independent and strong in your own right, with your own stands, with your own distinct view that you can defend and protect? What does it mean to dream of howling wolves? When you see a wolf howling in the distance and maybe there's a full moon in the background, this speaks to your need to reconnect with your wild nature. A lot of people have lost the way when it comes to communications. They don't really even know how to fully communicate unless it's using some sort of traditional template. This really is too bad because this means that they have lost touch, or at least have so thoroughly covered over their primal instincts that they find themselves constantly mimicking other people as to what is expected, what is respectable, what is conventional. To a certain extent, this might work, but the problem is all of us have a wild side. We all have drives. And if you're not careful, you may be submerging or suppressing your natural side to the extent that you run the risk of explosive mood swings or generalized anxiety later on because you're not being true to yourself. There has to be a healthy balance between the social side of you and the inner reality that you have to live with. This is your inner face, so to speak. This is who you really are. What does it mean to dream of a lone wolf howling? If the central image of your dream involves a lone wolf howling, maybe on top of a hill with a moon behind the animal, or perhaps in another setting, but the focus is on that lone solitary wolf howling, this can indicate that your subconscious is trying to draw your attention for your need to communicate based on your own authentic truth. There are more than 8 billion people on this planet, and then that's 8 billion pairs of eyes, 8 billion ways of interpreting reality, 8 billion ways of navigating all this stimuli that the world sends our way. All of those are valid. Seriously, all of those are valid if they are sincerely expressed. You have your own perspective. And if you constantly desire to howl in unison and perfect harmony with other wolves, you start to forget what your individual voice sounds like. There has to be a healthy balance because, believe it or not, what is special or distinct about you is what you can uniquely contribute to whatever group you belong to. That's what makes you useful. And if you spend a tremendous amount of your time conforming or trying to be just another face in the crowd or just trying to go along to get along, you lose that power. You become generic. And guess what? You become disposable. This is not rocket science because if you're just like everybody else, you're interchangeable with everybody else. They take you out of the machine and plug in a different cog. No difference. So this means that your utility or your usefulness as far as other people go is how well you march in lockstep. And if you don't do that and there's really nothing else you can contribute, out you go. Is that really what you want to do? Is that all there is to you? I think you know the answer. What does it mean to dream of a wolf attacking you? Usually, when people see this dream, they can't help but panic. It's like looking your killer straight in the eye, and all you can see is this tremendous burning and deep anger, like staring at a fire. Have you ever done that? You stare at a fire, and there's nothing you can really do to that fire. You can't intimidate it. You can't posture. It's fire. It's gonna consume you. And when you are being attacked by a wolf in your dream, a lot of your sense of vulnerability come raging to the surface. All your insecurities, all your doubts, all the times you second guess yourself, all of that come flashing through your mind. In fact, there's so many images flashing through that all you can see is this white light. The reason for that is white light is a combination of all colors. All those memories have their own hues, their own colors, their own distinct look. And they flash so quickly that all you could perceive is this white light. And you feel confused, unsettled. And deep down inside, you get this rising feeling that you're being exposed. You can't quite put your finger on it, but your sense of security is stripped away from you. And it's no surprise that when people see themselves being attacked by wolves or by a single wolf, they just wake up immediately. They chase their breath. But that attack says a lot about your relationships, how you deal with the past, and whether you have this core of strength that I've been talking about previously. Now may be the time to develop that. What does dreaming of an injured lone wolf attacking you in the house mean? If the house is your house, the injured lone wolf represents you. Your house, after all, represents your mind. And when you look at the wolf and it's been injured, you know that you will probably be able to beat it. If you have access to the right tool, maybe a baseball bat, if it's an arm's length, you can reach out and pop it on the head. But that lone wolf, as injured as it is, actually represents you. You're beginning to realize that when it comes to a certain person or a certain situation or topic in your life, you've been wrong. And your wild primal side, the side that doesn't really respect boundaries, the side that speaks out of turn, the side that a lot of people would call rude, is violently attacking your conception about those things with its neat lines, its compartmentalization. This part of you can't be bothered with formalities. This part of you can see that for the most part, you're being a hypocrite or you're just simply being a weak person. And it has no time for that, it has no patience for that. So there's this violent struggle within you. And it really all boils down to which truth would you like to believe? Which truth would you like to pursue? And on top of that, if that isn't complicated enough for you, there are also certain trauma and issues from the past, maybe failed coping mechanisms or old ways of looking at things. So it's a mishmash. And it's no surprise that when you see that injured wolf in your dream, you feel confused. But at the same time, when you look at it in the eyes, it feels so familiar. Weird, right? What does it mean to dream that a wolf has bitten you? If the main focus of your dream is the gaping wound that you had inflicted on you by a wolf, this is a realization that your sense of being insecure or being some sort of imposter is beginning to resonate. At first, it began with little bits and pieces of insecurity. Somebody may have said something at different times, and it just threw you off. But for the most part, you were able to brush it off. At first, you were able to actually deal with it fairly quickly. You just blow it off; it's no big deal, like water off a duck's back. But you keep seeing it. Maybe you had a tough time at work today because your presentation didn't play out like you had planned. Maybe you got a lousy grade. Maybe you had a fight with your lover. Whatever the case may be, there is some sort of catalyst, if you will, to this realization. And your nighttime visions is telling you, their nighttime visions are telling you that things are beginning to bubble to the surface that you have been avoiding. And this can mean that maybe you're not happy in your relationship. Maybe you are unhappy with certain decisions that you've made and now you are feeling stuck. But the good news is that Wolf is there to help you, as violent as that imagery may be. And no matter how much the wound hurts in your dreams, because sometimes we need to be slapped into consciousness. Have you ever seen movie scenes where somebody got knocked out and the only way to wake up that person is to just splash water on his or her face? This is your subconscious way of snapping you to attention. Because for the most part, you're conflicted and you're going around in many different directions. You're lying to other people. You're lying to yourself. You don't quite know what your feelings are, so on and so forth. So a wolf bites you, and your focus suddenly concentrates, much like a laser. And then that's when you start filling out the answer. That's when things start to become clear. That's when things start to fall into place. It's very surprising, and a lot of times it requires a tremendous amount of humility to understand, to accept even the possibility that you may have been wrong. But this is definitely a step in the right direction. Thank you for watching this video from exploreyourdreamlife.com. Please show your support by clicking the like button and leaving a comment, as well as subscribing and sharing this video. If you would like a personalized and customized dream interpretation, please make your request in the comments below. What does it mean to dream of wolves attacking someone else? This type of dream imagery can symbolize feelings of aggression, fear, or vulnerability. When you're in with a really a good group of people, and you really want to savor the camaraderie, the deep personal bonds, it's perfectly natural to feel a bit insecure about losing that loyalty, because you know that if you're any way familiar with how groups of people work, eventually there will be disagreements. There will be a time where people are not going to see eye to eye. So your subconscious is simply just looking ahead, and it's trying to let you know about its tremendous insecurity about being the person that the group doesn't like. Let me put it this way: the only thing worse than an enemy that wants to do you in is somebody that was very good friends with, that somebody who you were very good friends with, who turned on you. There's that dynamic, and you don't want to be that person, because you're beginning to subconsciously detect certain fractures in your group, and you really don't quite know where you stand or where you fit in. This is especially true when it comes to work teams, because you know that if you are the guy who's left out in the cold, that comes with negative consequences. Chances are you're not going to get promoted as quickly as you would have hoped. There's a good chance that you might get assigned lousy jobs, projects, and assignments. It's real. So you feel scared, unsettled. What does it mean to dream of killing a wolf? Sometimes we reach a point where we feel that the only way to control our lives is to practice some sort of, shall we say, standardization, where things are predictable, well ordered, neatly defined, and everything lines up. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't it be awesome if you can just reduce your life into some sort of equation that is always true and predictable and gives you the right answer right when you need it? That would be awesome, wouldn't it? But that's also not reality. Let's put it this way: if that can be done, then we would have done it as a species a long time ago. But that hasn't happened. Life, by definition, is unfair. It is spontaneous. It is unstable, volatile, and can turn on you instantly. When you dream of killing a wolf, you are basically grasping for straws. You're running out of resources. You feel stumped, and there's no easy answer. So what do? You turn on the part of you that you know you can't control. The part of you that reminds you of this unformed chaos within you with all its beautiful promises of new combinations, but at the same time, it's scary potential for self destruction, bursts of rage, and uncontrolled emotion. This is the part of you that you cannot really fully tame. But this is not a rational response. The solution to the wolf is not to kill it. Instead, make it work for you instead of against you. Now, this doesn't mean that you turn the wolf, your inner wolf, into a dog. That's a completely different discussion. No, just make it work for you. Because just like anything in life, there is the light side and the shadow side. The wolf is definitely in the shadow, but it has a purpose. That's why it's there. We're all yin and yang. And the key is to find the meaning behind what we normally prefer, what we normally understand. We look at that opposite and understand that there's a reason why that is around. Develop proper respect for it, and you can start using it to your advantage. Continue to fear it, or worse yet, ignore it. Then you'd be surprised in the worst way possible. What does a dream of a wolf running mean? A running wolf indicates dynamism. It indicates thinking processes, chaos in action that then rebounds into some sort of order. It depends on how it's running and it depends on where, but these are the main themes at play. You have to look at the different contextual cues. But normally, when wolves are running in a certain direction and they're not running after prey, they are projecting loyalty and protection to each other. Pay close attention to the pattern. You notice that the adult, strong male wolves are at the edges. They form the safety envelope, if you will. And within that inner space are the pups, the most vulnerable, as well as the older members of the pack. This is order and priority and structure in the natural world that applies to human psychology, social interaction, social hierarchies. Your subconscious is giving you some glimpses on how this seemingly untamed and wild side of your personality and total persona actually operates within easy to understand rules. And the more you analyze this part of yourself, the closer you get to making it work for you, or at the very worst, at least getting it to explain some of your drives and instincts. What does it mean to dream of a wounded wolf? In this context, if you did not wound the wolf yourself, It is this dream image is trying to let you know that there is some sort of transformation about to take place in your life. The reason why this transformation is happening is because the part of you that is unpredictable and possibly even dangerous is slowly realizing the need for order, transparency, and clarity. Now, it's not going to go away. Don't get the idea of the wolf inside you dying out of your mind. That's not going to happen. Instead, there is this limited opening, if you will, in in your consciousness of turning a new leaf, going in a new direction, and a lot of the anger, a lot of the badly articulated feelings of your past are going to have to give way. And this is a great opportunity for you to not only forgive yourself for bad choices or feeling a certain way regarding key people in your life, but also practicing forgiveness, understanding, and compassion to people that you may have sidelined, people you may have written off, or people that you still secretly hate. This is a tremendous opportunity. Don't let it go by because there's a part of you that is unforgiving or holds grudges, and you know it's not doing you any good. It's like trying to run a marathon with a backpack full of rocks. Not exactly a good idea. What does it mean to dream of a tamed wolf? This is a part of you. Your subconscious is trying to connect you or connect you with or trying to clarify in your mind the part of you that tries to change other people to your image. A lot of people go into relationships with people that they know are wrong because at the back of their head, they're thinking, I can change her or I can change him. Not only do you have this unrealistic estimate of your ability to affect change in other people's lives, but at the end of the day, you're doing something that is almost close to impossible. Why? It's hard enough to change yourself. Can you imagine trying to change other people? Change doesn't come from you. You know where it comes from? It comes from shared experiences. If you really want to get close to somebody and you want positive changes for that person, go on an adventure with that person, but don't expect that your relationship is the one that's going to be making the changes. Do you see the difference? It's this shared experience. Maybe in America, like joining a fraternity, joining some sort of organization, or being roommates, you name it, involve coming together and then having all these things happen to you. That's how bonds are formed, and those bonds transform the people involved. But if you come in with the thinking that my love will transform her, you've got another thing coming. It doesn't work that way normally. Either that person is somehow hypnotized by the intensity of your emotions and buys in, but it's only a matter of time until the spell is broken. Build your relationship on the solid foundation of mutual growth, shared mutual values, and shared experiences. Otherwise, you're wasting your time trying to tame a wolf because it's not going to turn into a dog, no matter how hard you try. Because dogs actually have different DNA than wolves. They picked up several molecular or chromosomal adaptations over the thousands of years that humanity has been taming them. They are completely different animals. Sure, there's a tremendous amount of wolf DNA in a dog, just as we share 98% of our DNA with chimpanzees. It's the small differences, the small variations that account for the tremendously different state of being between chimps and humanity, and definitely dogs and wolves.